got General Mieczysław Bieniek, former Deputy Supreme Allied Commander, Transformation, here with us. Good evening, sir. Delighted to have you on.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me.
So let me start by asking you about this defense spending, because Poland has been advocating at the increase of this 2% of GDP. Do you think that this will happen?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. As far as I remember, there's never-ending stories. It comes since 20 years ago, even after the Cold War, when you spent around 3% of GDP. Now it gets down after Cold War to 1.5, 2, and only few nations spent more than 2% of GDP last year. But 8 years ago, it was only 3 or 4 countries. Today, we have 23 countries out of the 32 which spent more than 2 GDP on its defense. It's progressing. It's good news for every of us, because it gives us the promises that we will increase our capabilities, all our systems, anti-aircraft system, coalition interoperability, maintain our cohesion and, how to say, capabilities to defend any aggression from anyone.
Yes, it's interesting, General, that you say that. I mean, I was looking earlier today at some statistics and noted that when generally NATO contributions were lower, that was when Russia took advantage. So in 2014, for example, they occupied Crimea, and then in 2022, they started their full-scale invasion. Now, this has been quite a wake-up call, has it not, for NATO? Because prior to that, everyone was talking about peace dividends and everyone thought the threat from Russia had gone. Do we expect this attitude to be sustained?
Yeah, I think that we sustain that progression in our GDP, because we have got so-called the dividend of the peace situation after the when Russia has been the Soviet Union has been disbanded, Berlin Wall just dropped down, and we also, all of us, we are thinking that we are coming to the peace and security and stability. We enlarge NATO and so on and so far. But after Crimea, as you mentioned, there was really collapse, and some nation has realized that our defense spending is too small, and their capabilities, the military capabilities, is also not good enough. For example, when we try to organize NATO defense planning process, and we realize that we don't have enough forces and capabilities to sustain two operations simultaneously, that we don't have even some capabilities to organize NATO response forces on time and in terms of the size. So that wake-up call came to us. So, and now, as General Cavoli Secure has said, we are built up, I think, sustained capabilities to deter any aggression especially from Russia. Our regional plans, which has been built up during the last 2-3 years, they reflect all our capabilities. We deploy forces, of course, not in the size we would like to be, but anyhow, we've got forces in all our military, or let's say, domain which we in the future we wanted to conduct our operation in the space, in the air, maritime, land, and cyber. So common joint operation is a precluding operation which we plan as a NATO. And I think we've got technological advances over Russia, over the let's say, adversaries which would like to invite or to be aggressor against us.
Sir, let's expand a little on the procurement. How important is it for NATO allies to buy the same kinds of equipment to increase interoperability, for instance?
Yeah, this is another complicated issue. It is issue of interoperability because we have got different kind of the equipment in terms of tank, combat aircraft, vessels, but anyhow, we try to do that compatibility and interoperability on the very high level. For example, in Europe, we've got 7 main battle tanks, but that battle tanks have the same caliber. They've got, let's say, more or less same capabilities, same munitions, but in terms of the fighter planes, we've got nine countries at that moment in Europe are using F-35. F-16, of course, is all over the world very well-known fighter, but F-35, it is one of the most important, one of the most valuable fighter plane, which not only NATO are users, but also countries from Far East. I would like also mention that during that summit, 35 nations from our partner nations has been invited, among them Japan, Australia, New Zealand, Korea, South Korea. So they are very important also for us, for the global security. And we notice that United States of America has built also coalition in Far East, in the Pacific Rim, which is important for the global security outcome. But coming back to the procurement, we try to do everything in order to make some interoperability in that context. Before the summit, we have the defense industry forum, on which there has been some decision made in context of the procurement and common spending of our money.
Right, and I mean, you know, Poland has recently made a large purchase of equipment, predominantly tanks, from South Korea. This came as a bit of a surprise to many. We hadn't realized the level of advancement of South Korean weapons manufacturers. Presumably, there were conversations going on beforehand when the South Korean tanks manufacturers started to design their tanks to make sure that interoperability existed. Is that how it works?
Yes, of course, but you must remember that we've been in a very specific situation. We get rid of our old Soviet Russian equipment. It was the requirement of the time, and same time we need to buy at once something or someone from the shelf. You know, from the shelf you cannot buy Abrams or Leopard just like that, like in the Super Sun, but you have to buy from who offer you. And K2 tank has the same caliber like the Leopard, like Abrams. So we try also do the deal with them, the deal with them to produce also that to make a Polonization of those armaments of the heavy tanks in our Polish factories. And of course, we ensure that maintenance of the tanks will be provided by Koreans, and also the line of the supply of the spare parts and munition will be ensured. And same time, the European and the Polish military industry try to produce also munition for that. So I'm optimist. Same time we've got. So we are probably one of the countries who has 3 main battle tanks. We've got Leopard, we've got Abrams, and we'll have key Korean one. And we get rid of the T-72 Russian one, which we have only a few of them existing in our units.
Right, sir. And a large military base, right, is being built in Romania right now. NATO military base is being expanded, to be precise. So do you expect any further investments in Poland, because as both countries are on NATO's eastern flank?
Yeah, we've got a lot of military investment in Polish armed forces, but not only investment in the military industry and military equipment, but also we invest in our civil defense and our resilience of our society and our country against any attacks. We did some lesson from Ukraine. It is just behind the wall, and we see those efforts of Ukrainian civilian society to survive against the brutal Russian war. And so we did also some lesson, and we tried to make some lesson from them. And that's why one of the lessons is also to create a joint analysis education center in Bydgoszcz, which we drew up from the lesson from Ukraine. And I hope that it will be the NATO installation like Joint Force Training Center in Bydgoszcz. And we also get some lesson not only from the combat capabilities, combat lesson, how to fight in the conventional war, because to be frankly, none of the NATO nation fought the conventional war during last years. We fought against the terrorism, we fought the unconventional war, let's say, against the hybrid threat, but we did not fought the conventional open war. And Ukraine are doing it over 2.5 years, and that's why we need to have also some lesson to incorporate it into our tactics and techniques.
Right. Well, there are at the moment 60 Chinese soldiers training with Belarusian soldiers in Belarus. And it is assumed by many NATO commanders that basically this is a response to the summit in Washington. How would you rate the Chinese military in terms of technology and training?
The exercise of the 60 Chinese sound me like a joke, you know, close to our Polish-Belarusian border. But we cannot forget that the Chinese has built up their military capabilities and presence. They built up to air carrier. They built up a lot of submarine vessels, and they did also a lot of effort in order to build up the anti-air access to their banks, to their territory. So we cannot ignore that. But anyhow, the Chinese, Russian, and Belarusian allies show us that Putin is looking for the people or from the nation who can, let's say, support him, like Korea, like North Korea, like Iran, like China. But Belarus, it is part of the let's say, in fact, completely territory of the Russia. All the planning process of the Belarusian armed forces is under the command of the Russian 10 Department of Defense.
Sir, just going back to the equipment, you've mentioned that not everything is available off the shelf, such as F-35s, for instance. So I was wondering, and also Patriot systems, right? I believe there's only 240 something, right? It's a very limited amount. So I was wondering, could anything be done to increase production of these crucial military equipment, or will we have to wait? What happens on that front? How does it look like from a technical standpoint?
From the technical point of view and the military planning, for us, we just developed our priority, you know. The plan for our defense and our building our resilience is, of course, air defense system, command system, mobility of the forces, protection of our capabilities and civilian population. So there are plenty of the priorities. But if you have too many of them, you don't have any. First of all, we have to build the resilience of the country against any aggression. But we have to remember that we are not alone. We are a member of the 32 nations. We are a member of NATO, which is 75 years most reliable alliance in the world, which has been proved by their history from the Cold War up to the enlargement by all the mission which has been taken by NATO, and NATO proved that NATO is ready to adapt to any challenges which are ahead of us.
Thank you very much indeed for your insights and analysis, General Bieniek. Come and see us again soon.
Thank you very much. Good to be with you.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.